we're dads, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Thing that I found that's interesting with dads is, we don't like to waste things like food. You know,
Hmm.
my dad's notorious for this. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you have food sitting in the fridge, how long are you letting it sit there before you throw it out as opposed to saving it to eat it
What
later?
What do you mean throw it out?
Mega Dads Live is a mature rated podcast. It's for the Mega Dads, the Mega Moms, but not the Mega Kids. So put on those earmuffs and let's go!
So I was after Thanksgiving a while back. I was like, is this food still good? This is after Christmas, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, no, definitely not. But my dad takes it to the extreme and he won't throw food out. Like you'll find like some moldy like cheese or something in his fridge and stuff. It's like, oh, it's still good. It's still good. And it's like a running joke.
Ooh.
He's taken it to the extreme. So we're hanging around for the holidays and he's like, oh, I'm going to cook ribs. So he starts defrosting some ribs, and I'm like, it smells in here,
Oh God.
and it starts smelling, and I'm like, are you cooking fish? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. So then the fish smell starts to get overwhelming in this house. Like it is like wafting straight fish smell everywhere. And then my dad walks over. He's like, oh, I think the ribs went bad. Like I must have I think I defrosted them and then refroze them. But then the blood like pooled and then like basically it's bad. I'm like, oh, okay. He comes back and he had cooked some of these ribs, because he was like already through the process. And he's like, here, try it. So he comes back after saying that it's spoiled. He's like, here, try it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to try it. He eats this in front of me. He eats a piece of cooked, like smelly fish ribs, like in front of me. He's like, here. And he starts, and I'm currently, again, playing Marvel Rivals with, I think Lyshi was there and Luke and a couple different people. And I'm telling them, I'm like, Dad just came over. The house smells like fish. The ribs are spoiled. And he took a bite out of it. And I'm like, I think he's going to get sick. He didn't end up getting sick, Adam. Could you believe it? But I think that this is kind of extreme. Like, do you throw out food or are you one of those who like...
Oh, if it even looks or smells slightly... Yeah, so that fucker's going in the trash. No.
After a day, food is gone, or is it like 2 days, 3 days?
I usually go to the grocery store, and the next day I'm throwing away half of the food.
What? Get out of here! No. What's wrong with you?
No, if anything,
crazy.
It's the smell. It is absolutely the smell, right? Like if something doesn't smell the right way, like there's no way. I'll look at it. I'll look at a sell-by date, right? And like, if it's past the sell-by date, okay, as long as it smells all right and there's no visible like mold growing on it. But once that thing starts to stink, there's not a chance. Like I couldn't take a piece of steak that smells like fish. First of all, I can't eat anything that smells like fish. My God, so we went to my in-laws a couple weeks ago, and it is well known, well documented that I not only do not like to eat fish, but I cannot stand the smell of fish. So much so that when we got married, we had a big house party at the house we rented, and they did a fish fry. And I left my own dinner. That was the night before my wedding because I was gonna start puking all over the place. So I like left the party that was for me because I couldn't stand the smell of the fish. So when we went to my in-laws this last time, they had a massive fish fry. And again, like my head was killing me. My stomach was turning. I had to leave. So there's not a chance in hell that I would eat ribs that should never smell like fish. If they were smelling like fish, that's a non-starter. Your dad is...
He's on the edge. I don't know. Something's wrong with him. Like he has an issue with food and throwing it out and like... I don't know what
is it a money saving thing or is it
could be.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think, but I don't know. I think he just likes living on the edge. I don't know.
Maybe he's one of these weird health food guys
Well,
that's
yeah,
like
sure.
convinced that you want to drink like unprocessed milk and all that stuff. And maybe he'll outlive us all. You never know. You never know.
Totally.
Hey, let's take this opportunity to thank our members of Megadad's Boost. Boost members get this podcast boosted, which means they're listening 5 days early and ad-free. We thank you guys so much for your continued support. And if you want to be a member of Megadad's Boost, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/Megadads. It takes as little as $1 a month to help support this show and get it boosted. Our Boost members for January are Dave Soto, Jesse Waldack, Timothy Alf, the Bafo Yucks Dudes, Brandon Wilson, Brendan Myers, Brent, Emily Smith, Estuardo Zenteno, John DeFrancesco, Justin Masson, Luke Porter, the Nintendo Dads Podcast, Spokes, the Snack Network, and Andy Penzick. And the folks hanging out in the free membership tier, Solara Clark, Coconut Wizard, Avi Cohen, the One Track Gamers, John Layola, Michael Kwan, Sonny Megatron, Nima, Eric Wood, Petey McD, Mike Salvino, and Brian Scott. Once again, we thank you all for being a member of the Megadads community. We thank you for your support by being a member of Megadads Boost. And if you want to join those ranks, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/Megadads. Now back to the show. It's time for Super Positives.
Megadad's being super positive.
Other than your dad's impending chronic diarrhea, what else is giving you joy, Antonio, in the world?
So for Christmas, I got something called a physics draft pour beer dispenser. So it's FIZZIC.
Oh, physics.
Yes. So my wife is like, can I get you something that's not on your wish list that I think you'll love? And I'm like, sure. And it's this little machine. It stands about 18 inches tall, and it's a draft pourer, and it looks just like that, like in a bar where you see the stick and you pull it forward for the draft. And what it is if you just very easily like unlock it and like lift it up, you can put any bottle of beer underneath. So like a can or a bottle, and you just put it right down on top, and immediately just starts working. You draft pour it. So the whole idea, I'm reading from the description, is it converts any beer natural flavor carbonation into uniform size bubbles called microfoam, a rich and creamy head that delivers enhanced aroma, flavor, and feel. And it's really great. I did a lot of drinking over the holidays. You know, I shouldn't have, but I did. And the beer, when you do this, tastes and smells like a lot better. Like, it's very interesting because I'm like, what's the novelty of this thing? Like, you get a little extra like foam on top. But if you go and like, we were drinking these beers where it's like the draft, and it was just great. Like we were drinking different beers, and you could smell like banana flavors, and you could smell like, you know, different like aromas and stuff. And then when I went back and I took a regular beer, just like opening one and drinking it, it tastes completely different. Like,
weird.
I'm like, wow, it actually made a difference, and you do prefer using the draft. So it's a very cool technology. It's a very cool thing. If you're a heavy drinker at times like me and you want to make it into a fun hobby, then you just use this dispenser. So it's really good. It's called Physics, FIZZICS, draft pour beer dispenser. It's really cool. I like it.
You know, I really I get jealous of people that like
beer?
Nuanced food and beverages.
Like
I'm a very, very basic person when it comes to food. And like people who like beer can be so many different things, right?
Yeah.
And like you're talking about, the way you pour a beer can actually alter the experience that you have drinking it. Same with like coffee drinkers. Like there's so many different ways to do coffee. I don't drink beer. I don't drink coffee. I'm just a very simple person. I feel like none of the things that I eat or drink can really be enhanced in any considerable way. I'm not fancy, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not a fancy guy.
I'm
like grilled cheese and chocolate milk, and like I'm fine.
it's good to treat yourself. It felt like having a beer was like a little bit more of a ritual, and similar to like when you make coffee a certain way, like if you do like a cold brew, or if I grind my coffee beans. Once I started doing that, I felt like it tasted better, kind of like unlocked the flavor, and it was just like, so my wife actually got a cappuccino machine. So now we're going to be grinding beans and doing like cappuccino and all that. So it's a little extra ceremony.
You're living life the right
yeah,
way.
You're trying to treat yourself, right? So that's my super positive is drinking beer.
My super positive is like the sweetest story, almost the sweetest story, I guess. We were at the grocery store yesterday and we're checking out, and it's self-bagging. The food goes down the conveyor belt and you throw the food in the bags, and I'm paying and unloading the grocery cart, and my son and daughter are bagging it, doing an absolutely terrible job, right? Like there's we talk about being particular about certain things as a parent. Bagging groceries, like there's a right way to bag groceries, you know what I'm saying? And my kids are just like, first goes in the loaf of bread, then goes in all the canned goods on top of the bread, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Anyway, they get through bagging all the groceries, load up the cart, and behind us in line is this elderly woman. She must be like 80 years old all by herself, and she's got like a dozen items in her cart, and we're getting ready to leave, and my son says, he looks at me, he's like, well, should I help her bag her groceries? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, she's all alone and she's older and she could probably use some help. And I'm like, well, that's a very nice thing to do. You should ask her. And of course, with it being one of my children, he was crippled with anxiety at the thought of asking this old woman for help. And so I'm like, I'm encouraging him, but it's getting like progressively more awkward. I'm like, we will wait for you. If you want to go and ask that woman if you can bag her groceries, we will. And he's just like, he's like panicking, right? Ends up, he's too nervous to actually do it. So we end up leaving. But like, my goodness, the thought, if there's a it's the thought that counts story that would melt your heart. It's like he was thinking of this complete stranger, and he knew in his heart the right thing to do would be to help, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. But still, it's like, man, when was the last time that you as an adult just completely out of the blue random thought, I'm just going to help this person. They don't even necessarily need it, but I just want to help somebody because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember the last time I had a moment like that.
I do it all the time. I love that stuff. You want to spread a little. You want to spread a little joy. You want to spread a little thing. Like I was at a work trip, and there was this lady who she had issues with mobility, so I was like helping her into the door, and
like everybody into the door, like bam.
Like everybody in my group walks into the restaurant, and like I'm like, oh, let me help this lady, and so she had mobility issues, and it was like so slow. Adam, we're like, she's like, oh, thank you. As soon as they thank you, and then imagine they move like this, like
it's like the sloth from Zootopia.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, oh shit! Like, what did I sign up for? In my math, I'm like, this is 20 minutes. This is 20 minutes that I just signed up for, holding this door, trying to like help this lady through. So then her husband ended up coming back. He's like, oh, you're still out here? I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah.
Wait, she was with someone?
Yeah, so he had like gone in to like do something, and he was gonna come back. I think she got out of the car like without help when she shouldn't have, or something.
Right.
So then he starts to help her. I'm like, great. So like a few minutes into my 20-minute like thing. So I do it sometimes. There was this guy who was asking for money outside the liquor store when I went to buy beer over the holidays. I'm like, sorry, I don't have extra cash or whatever. He's like, can I buy a beer off you? And I'm like, here, take some. So I just gave him some beer out of the case I just bought. It's already like super illegal or whatever, but I'm just like spreading that joy of alcohol for the holiday season. So yeah, I do it here and there.
So you halfway helped an old lady.
Halfway. I was so upset. I was like, this is going to take more than 30 seconds.
And then you assisted a homeless guy in his alcoholism.
Yes. So
Sweet.
I try to spread love and joy around the world is what I'm trying to tell you.
You really are a good guy.
The place to be for Megadads socials is the Megadads Discord, where you can engage with your favorite Megadads as well as other friends of the Megadads every single day in our stress-free and welcoming social space. When you're a member of our Discord, you will get alerts for all of our content drops, so you never have to miss a review, a podcast, or a hot take. Partake in our fun weekly Megadads holidays like Waluigi Wednesday and Final Fantasy Sunday. Megadads Discord is fun, free, and follows you wherever you go. Join us today and become part of the conversation.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a game that you've been playing. Now, Antonio, explain to me, because it's not in the show notes here. What game are we talking about today?
Marvel Rivals. So, Marvel Rivals is a third-person hero shooter video game developed and published by Chinese developer NetEase Games in collaboration with Marvel Games. It's available on PS5, PC, Xbox Series X and S as of early December. So, not only that, but I do want to break. This is public knowledge now.
Okay.
There's going to be a season 1 launch of the game. So, they do like the soft launch, and then they're like, all right, it's time for the first season. And there will be additional characters added to Marvel Rivals. So as the time you are listening to this, probably right around. And the Fantastic Four are coming as new characters.
All of them?
So all
wow.
4. It's interesting. I don't know if they're coming all at once necessarily, but we should know very soon if it'll be a staggered release throughout the season or something. They might do all 4. The way that you play this game is it's similar to Overwatch, again, a hero shooter where you take the mantle of a hero or a villain like Venom, Penny Parker. You could do Doctor Strange, all number of people. Like
there's a lot of characters.
A lot. I think there's like 33 or something like that. And it's a 6 versus 6 game where you try to knock out the other opponent's team, as well as like capture objectives and move a payload across the map. Again, very similar to Overwatch. And what was surprising about Overwatch is these hero shooters need a few things to work really well. They have a lot going on screen, but you need to be able to parse out what's happening even in chaotic moments. 6 people versus 6 people with everybody with flashy superhero moves and balls of energy and all sorts of effects on screen. It can get crazy, but these games that are really good hero shooters, you can still make sense of it, and it feels like there's a flow. And when you play as a team working together, as your healers and as your frontline tank type characters, when you're all doing your job, you feel great when you win. And this game, surprisingly, I thought it was just going to be a Overwatch clone with a Marvel skin IP attached to it. But it stands really well in its own right. Like, it plays very well. You have to have a balance in these games where it's not like super dominating where, everyone picks that character. There's a very nice range. All of the characters are very strong for the most part, and it plays really well. And then you put the Marvel on top of that, and it's just so cool, because if you're like a fan of Squirrel Girl, you're out there. If you're a fan of Iron Man, you're out there. You want to be the Hulk and just smash things around, you can. There are so many characters. There are 33 playable characters. They have everything. Like I said, Spider-Man, Venom, Thor, Jeff the Land Shark, Luna Snow, Mantis, Rocket Raccoon, Star-Lord, Storm. There's just an amazing amount, and I'm having a great time with it. Not only me, but everyone in the community. We're getting together almost daily now, especially
you guys
on
are
Friday
playing
night.
All the time. I see on our Discord is just lighting up. The thing that I really love about this game, and I've tried it, and I'm not. This is the game that you got to sync. This is exactly why I don't play multiplayer games, because it's like you've got to dedicate time to not only play with other people, but like also to learn your roles and stuff like that. And I fired this game up, and the first thing that I said was, my God, this game visually is outstanding. Like the not just like the graphics, but the design work on all the heroes. They look familiar, but they're definitely rivals versions of those characters, right?
Yes,
Just
absolutely.
The art style is so fantastic. I loved the way that Thor looks, just all big and chiseled and ripped, and the visuals in this game are phenomenal. But
Yes.
but it's as a guy who just plugs it in and plays with a bunch of random people that I'm not communicating with, like I just couldn't I couldn't click with this game. But tell me what the experience is like playing with people that you're actually able to coordinate not only play sessions with, but like your play technique with.
In these games, winning feels great, losing feels bad. So with your team, when you have go in with like a team of 6, which thank God we've been able to do, you play a lot better because you're not like randomly like grouped up with random people online. And when you can have that skill level where there have been people who've played this game in the community who like, I'm bad, I've never played these games before, I'm not that big of a shooter person, because you do need to have some chops when it comes to some skill like that. But you learn the game over time, and the more you play, the more you find your character. Like if your job is to heal, then you stand back, you launch your healing attacks, and you try not to die. If you're a tank, it's your job to be on the point, get in people's faces, you have more hit points, so you have some survivability, and your team's going to rely on you to lead the way with maybe a shield, like Captain America or Magneto. And then you have DPS, which is just like do as much damage as you can, try to attack their healers, stuff like that. And it just works so well. We have such great times. And I think what's important about games like Fortnite and like great games are you get that rush of excitement when you win. Something that the new Halo game really lacked is I would win a game or lose a game and I felt nothing. But when it comes to like things like Fortnite, that battle royale like mode works because when you finally get that crown, it means something. And I think that was the secret sauce of the battle royale formula. Well, there's a secret sauce to the hero shooter where it feels amazing. Like there's a high that you get from a team win where like, oh, you healed him, perfect timing, and that's how he was able to kill that guy, and that's how we were able to get numbers on them, and then we capture the point, and we play like that, and we're all like cheering to ourselves. And it's an excellent experience. I wish the barrier to entry was lower because you need to be familiar with video games and shooter games specifically to play this game, because if it's not your type of game where it's very fast, very competitive, then you won't like it. But if you have any streak of that in you and you do put some time into it to find the character that gels with your play style, then you will have an amazing amount of fun. So unfortunately, it's not like a party game for everyone,
right?
But for gamers like us who are in the community, I like Nurse Light, she plays Call of Duty Zombies, and then he's like, well, I play zombies and that's about it. Like that's my main thing, I can do that. And we're like, oh, let's try this. And she was excellent. She was able to do really well. So this game is excellent. It's free to play. The monetization is in its infancy. Like I think in season 1 they'll really go for it, but they have a battle pass. They have very few cosmetic items that I see available that are like worthwhile right now, but I think that they're gonna ramp it up into high gear. A lot of people are playing the game. It says right here that the game reached 10 million players within 72 hours.
Jeez.
It's now at 20 million players just before Christmas. So it's really big, and it's very well received.
It's free to play,
Yes.
and it launched with all the characters available, free to play.
Right out the gate, yeah.
Is that going to continue where all the characters will always be free and the pay mechanic is just the aesthetics? Or are they going to start unveiling, like, you have to buy characters?
I do not know. Like Mr. Fantastic, Human Torch Thing, Invisible Woman, I don't know if they're going to be paid or not. It's interesting. I have a feeling that they're going to be free to play, and it's just going to be continue to try to sell the battle pass, continue to try to sell skins. But like even I myself, before I realized that this game was going to have legs, I had already resigned myself to say, like, I'm not going to buy skins for this game. I'm just going to try it out. But now that I've been playing so much and I'm finding my favorites, if they release a good Season 1 Battle Pass or good cosmetic, I'm going to dip in. I already asked people last night. I'm like, how'd you get that skin? How'd you get that nameplate? They're like, oh, I think I bought some stuff or whatever. I'm like, oh, now I'm there. The FOMO is real with this one. But it's a very great game.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at some of the things you can buy right now, and I talking about how great the design is of the characters. Wolverine's default skin is fuck ugly. It is hideous. But the smart thing they did was like, oh well, if you don't like that, you can buy his Deadpool and Wolverine outfit, which is like the coolest Wolverine outfit in the fucking world. So it's like, yeah, if you're playing this game and you like Wolverine, you're going to buy that outfit. And of course, there's every superhero has variant outfits, right? Like, how cool would it be if you could buy the Insomniac Spider-Man suit, right, for the Spider-Man character, stuff like that. So that game has opportunity to make incredible money, I'm sure, and it certainly would be a really good gesture to have all of the characters free as default, right?
Yes, absolutely. I hope that they continue to be fair with the monetization, because I think that it's hard to break into this competitive shooter, this hero shooter, games as a service atmosphere right now. They're lucky that they're doing so well right now. They put effort into it. It's a great IP and all that, but it's not easy. There's no guarantee of success. So I think that they have a good thing going, and I hope that they're able to continue it, because I think this is a really great game.
One last thing to say on that point before we move on to the end of the show is you got Marvel Rivals, which comes out, hero shooter, absolutely crushes. Everybody loves it. Everybody's playing. And then you look at just a couple of months ago, Concord, first party studio PlayStation game, which most indications are first party PlayStation game is going to be like an absolute banger. And it was the biggest calamity first party game release in a long time.
It shut down so fast.
So I've never seen a game like get nuked from the face of the earth so fast. So it is difficult to make it in the scene. Marvel Rivals seems to be doing it right.
This program is powered by Megadad's Boost, our public support program. You can join at patreon.com/Megadads. For over 10 years, Megadads has been bringing you the best in podcasts, reviews, interviews, family fun, and so much more. As an independent media organization, we rely on audience members like you to help support what we do, to ensure that Megadads can continue to bring you the great content that you enjoy. If you've been watching, listening, or playing along through the years, please consider lending your support by becoming a member of Megadads Boost. Memberships start for as little as $1 a month, and you can start collecting your Boost rewards from day one. Rewards like art cards, early access podcasts, reviews, gameplay clips, and so much more. Please visit patreon.com/Megadads and become a member today. You can help us continue to make more of that Megadads coverage you've loved over the last 10 years well into the future by becoming a member of Megadads Boost.
Yes.
Well, that sound means it's time for the caboose. We round out the show with a recommendation for you, something outside the world of video games that we think you might enjoy. And man alive, I've been watching super late to the party. I've been watching Cobra Kai on
You
Netflix.
just got into Cobra Kai?
Okay, so Cobra Kai launched 5 years ago, I think, as a YouTube original show, is when they were trying to do like original programming on YouTube. And I remember they released like the first episode for free, and then you'd have to buy into the whatever the hell the YouTube premium thing was to watch the rest of the show. And I remember watching the pilot for free and thinking, oh, that's kind of cool, that's fun. And then I never watched it again. Fast forward a few years, Netflix bought the show from YouTube because it was, they were canceling original programming. They weren't going to do it anymore. So the show has been on Netflix for a few years. But the thing that I remember from the pilot, and I've heard from everybody, is it's a little risque. Like, it's a little Bad Santa. It's a little Bad News Bear. It's like it's about a kid's karate team. It's about a kid's karate team. But this is, I don't know if I'd say R-rated, but it's definitely like a hard PG-13, right? Yeah. And so I didn't want to watch it around the kids because my son has been in karate for his entire life, and we're fans of the Karate Kid movies. And so I started watching Cobra Kai on my own in secret for the first few episodes. I put it on when the kids were, doing something else. My wife wasn't around. And then my wife started watching it. And are you watching Cobra Kai? And she'd come in and she'd watch a couple episodes. Then it was, well, what are we gonna eat after, or what are we gonna watch after we eat dinner? Well, let's just throw on a Cobra Kai. The kids probably won't pay. No, the kids got glued to it. Now we've been binging this thing hard. We watch 2 episodes every night. I'm a bad dad. I'm a bad parent. There's some vulgar language in this show. I mean, that's pretty much it, right? It's the language. My daughter, after watching one of the episodes, told me not to be a pussy. So,
what did you say?
What do you say to that? No, we don't.
Right away.
Just because you hear that on the show does not mean you need to repeat it. Oh man, I made a bad choice. But this show is so fucking good. It's so campy. It's so ridiculous. It leans into that 80s nostalgia so hard. If you ever watched the original Karate Kid movies, pretty much anybody who was in them that has not died since has had an appearance on this show. So it really does some hilarious callbacks. I love it, man. It is so fun and just kind of dopey, and it's a really good time. I think the final episodes are going to be releasing in February. And we're caught up to like the first 3 seasons. So we're like halfway through it, but we're chewing through it so damn fast. Cobra Kai on Netflix. It is so good.
I watched the first season and I need to know if it's worth it to continue to the further season.
This is a show that continues to get better and better because they put more money into it. By the time you get to the end of season 3, there are like these massive John Wick style group choreographed karate battles that they're like 10 minutes long of like 15 different kids fighting in the mall or in the school, and they're like really badass. So yeah, they clearly infused more money and more time into what they want to do in this show. The first season is like proof of concept. Like that's the tone of the whole thing, is this guy's a washed up has-been and he's teaching these kids, and the kids are punks, and you know, that's the show, but it gets better and better and better as it goes. So I would encourage you, if you have Netflix, I would highly encourage you to stick with it and give it.
It's good. It's good. The first season it pulls you in. You got to give it 3 episodes. If you give it 3 episodes, every show that you try, then it will give you a great idea if you're invested or not. So give everything 3 episodes. That's my little tip.
There you go.
So Adam, for my caboose, I want to recommend that people get out there and educate themselves and go to a museum. We went to the museum, the Field Museum in Chicago over the holidays. And the reason that we went, the big reason, was my daughter's really into dinosaurs, and we have Sue, the T-Rex, which is one of the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex fossils ever found. And they have this big lead up where they have these other dinosaurs, and my daughter's just running past them. It's like, I don't care about this Triceratops. I don't care about that. I want to see Sue. And then you go into this room, and then you see Sue, and it's big, right? You're looking up at it. It's well lit, very impressive, awesome. But then, Adam, you keep walking through the prehistoric section, and you find something that's bigger than the dinosaurs that you had seen in the previous rooms. We saw a giant prehistoric sloth that was bigger than all the other dinosaurs. It looked bigger than Sue. It looked bigger definitely than this Triceratops. Did you know that back in the day, there were 20-foot long, 3-ton ground sloths?
What?
In South America. They're called Megatherium. So they're ground sloths, and the way that they had it was like up, like trying to get something, like on like the wall. So like it's kind of like gated off, and you walk up and you see this giant thing. I'm like, what dinosaur is that? It's crazy. And it's just a ground sloth.
Holy
and
crap.
I have a picture. I'm going to try to put in the Megadeth's Discord. Join if you want to see it. It is incredible. Like, I'm over here, like, mouth agape. Like, how did we have animals that big? 12,600 years ago is when this this one skeleton was, or when this one skeleton they think it was from. So I thought it was like pretty insane. The Pleistocene period, the late Pleistocene. I don't know shit about anything. So this is like, like with how dumb I am, I'm like, oh, like freaking out. I'm like, what is it, Paul? So go out there, get educated, go to a museum. Kids love it. Stretch their legs. Yeah, I learned a lot of new things. So very interesting. Giant ground sloths. Can you imagine, Adam?
I wonder how if they were like as slow as like a sloth is today. Because that's kind of creepy.
Oh, right.
You know, like how freaking huge that must be, and it just like barely moves. Like that. That'd be kind of creepy, right?
It was so large, Adam. You have no idea.
I want to see that in the next Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah,
they got to do it.
The sloths.
Giant sloth. It's like it's a like very long scene. Yeah.
Run.
Scarlett Johansson's gonna fight a giant sloth. That's all I'm saying.
Is ScarJo in the new one?
She's in the new one, yeah.
Oh my god, here we go.
So exciting. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of Mega Dads Live. I concur with that museum recommendation. I took my kids to the art museum this last summer. They loved it. Take your kids out, do something different, and we'll see you back here next week for an all-new episode of Mega Dads Live.